Hi everyone and welcome back to this week's Kids Skype study group video, and let us begin with another blessed video about the faithful characters recorded in the Bible. So today we're going to talk about a very interesting character in my opinion, and let us begin thanking the Lord through our Saviour Jesus Christ. So the character we're going to talk about in this week's video is recorded in the 2nd Kings chapter from the 22nd to the 23rd chapter. So let us reveal now who the character is. And that character is none other than Josiah. So, who was the character Josiah? So, Josiah was one of the kings of Judah. That's the first point we need to understand. And there was a statement that was mentioned about him when it came to the reign of his situation and the way he dealt with being the king of Judah, as it's described that he walked in all the ways of David his father and turned not aside to the right hand or to the left. So this statement about Josiah means we can infer that he was a good king who endeavored throughout his reign to do the Lord's will as it was revealed to him, we see, and following it according to God's will, we have to say. But we have to see the situation that Josiah is in when he comes into the kingship of Judah is a very difficult and very miraculous situation, in my opinion, but how he's been put in that position, because we see his predecessors are nothing like him. In fact, you could say they're the opposite, we can see. So during the reign of Manasseh, so the period, this is before Josiah became the king. There was a king named Manasseh, and this man was, when he was ruling, made Judah completely against God. And in this period, he established an ungodly kingdom and established idol worship throughout the land, introducing it even into the Lord's temple in Jerusalem. But then Manasseh had a son named Ammon, and his son succeeded his father in the actions of evil and sinful nature, even more than his father. So we can see in this situation, succeeding his father was not the right thing to do, because he went above the level in sinful nature to what his father had already did with idol worship and making Judah go completely against God. But then here's the beautiful alignment. Ammon was Josiah's father. But we see that Josiah, though, came to the kingship at a very early age, because despite Ammon only being in kingship for 2 years, and after all his tyrannical actions, we can see, he only reigned for 2 years. And in that 2 years, like I said, he succeeded his father's actions in sinful nature. And we can see after the 2 years, he was actually slain by his own house servants. So, the premature death of Ammon, the father of Josiah, brought Josiah to the throne at a very early age of 8, we see. Not like his grandfather or his father, he did not rule as he wished, we see. Rather, he wants to do and act in a godly manner. So we can see that how the God's blessing has inputted into his mind, because Josiah's influence is not going to be as easy as it is going to be easy in understanding what is the truth and what is the godly actions, because we can see how sinful and bad people, almost we can say, in their actions both his father and grandfather were throughout their kingship. And we can see, but for Josiah to have the mindset that he did not want to rule as they did and act in a godly way shows there itself the godly nature and faithfulness he wishes to show. So then we see in the 18th year of his reign, at the age of 26, he gave directions for the repair of the temple, we see. At some point in connection with this undertaking, Hilkiah, we see, the high priest, we see, found in the temple a copy of the book of the law, and he gave it to a person named Shaphan to take it back to Josiah, we see. Being righteously inclined, though, we see, at heart, desiring to serve Josiah, the reading of his law made a tremendous impression upon the young king, and he at once set about to accomplish a work of reformation throughout the land to change it completely, you see. Then he proceeded to carry out what he had covenanted to do in the book of law that he was willing to do for the reformations, we see. So he commanded that the temple be cleansed of all the trappings that had to do with the worship of Baal. As we know, Baal has been taught throughout the Bible as an idol worship that should not be followed, and that the worship of false gods be stopped everywhere throughout the nation, and that all the groves and images be destroyed, he said. He did a thorough job in this situation of reclenching all his father's and grandfather's actions in this period of time by cleansing these temples from the sin that they had been put through, and accomplished a genuine religious reform for which the Lord blessed him for his actions. So upon hearing the reading of the law, Josiah was made aware of the Passover feast. So he is reading in the book of law, which is talked about which is seen in the temple copy. So Josiah is handed, like I said, this book that a priest has found in the temple, which he has cleansed, we see, through that religious reform. So he is reading the book of law, and he is noticing and is being made aware of the Passover feast, which was to have been celebrated once each year. And forthwith he gave instructions to the priests of Israel to make arrangements for the Passover itself. This was a grand experience. This was meant to be a grand experience for the king and for the people, we can see. So we can see the faithfulness once again he shows here. As soon as he sees the God's words and God's fulfillments that are being mentioned are to be happening, he immediately puts them into action and into faithfulness and into a law, we can see. So this about how Josiah notices about the Passover feast is recorded in 2 Kings 23rd chapter, 21st to 23rd verse, where you can read about this, how the Passover feast is celebrated and how he gave the instructions about the Passover feast, we see. So then overall now we can see the tremendous feats that Josiah had done throughout his career. I shouldn't say career, his reign of being a king of Judah. So he is one of the very few faithful Judah kings. As a matter of fact, he was the last king of Judah who was actually faithful to the Lord. His reforms included, like we have mentioned, cleansing the land of spiritualists and resurrecting, we could almost say, the Passover observance, and then finally he died in battle in his conclusion, fighting against the Egyptian king at Megiddo, we see. Though he had a bad experience and condition from his family line, we could see, he chose the right path and delivered it as a classic example for us in our lives, how we can withstand these opportunities and experiences to do the right act. For someone like Josiah to have it in his blood itself, we could see that the sin is tremendously in him from his father to his grandfather. The detrimental, sinful, and evil actions they showed, he did not show any of them. He was a faithful God's child throughout his reign as a Judah king, and he had shown utmost faith towards the Lord, supported God's reformations, and built religious reformations to honor God, and followed all the laws which are specified in the book of the law, which as soon as he gets in his hands, puts into actions. So overall, once again, Josiah is a beautiful character for us to understand. So that's all for this week's video. See you next week. Bye.